Folks, welcome to a special edition of the Jake Feinberg Show. Joined today by two master musicians, shamans in their genre. David Grisman, McCoury, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Wait, you got my name wrong.
Shame on you.
McCoury.
McCoury.
Yes.
McCoury. Never again. David and I have caught quite a few hangs, but I'd like you to talk about who you learned at the feet. You know, David learned at the feet of certain masters. Was there somebody that you learned at the feet of?
You mean in the very beginning? Or later in life, or what?
I mean, like, I'm trying to figure out, are you and David peers? Or are you older than David? Because, you know, Monroe was a master and those cats, but who were the mentors for you on the bandstand?
Probably Earl Scruggs.
Can you go a little bit deeper on that? Like, well, I mean, was he older than you? And what was inspiring about that?
What, Earl Scruggs?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's about 60 years older than me. No, when I was 11 years old, I heard Earl Scruggs playing with Lester Flatt. And that's what, when I heard that banjo played with a forward row, and that's what I thought I'm going to have to do, because I had already learned to play the guitar. My brother taught me how to play the guitar. But Earl Scruggs was the guy. Mark it down.
You heard it on record? What about the first time live?
On record. First time live was 1955. I heard him on record in 1950. I didn't get to see him until 1955. And he had been with Bill Monroe. He and Lester Flatt had been with Bill Monroe in the middle 40s, and they cut some of the best music will ever be put down. Remember that.
What was infectious about it? Was it the rhythm?
It was everything.
Because the rhythm was square in the 20s and 30s.
This is not 20s.
I know, this is the 40s. This is when it started to cook.
That's what it was. And they didn't need a drum. They didn't need anything. They all had different things, but they put it all together, and it all meshed. And it was probably in a lot of ways it was just luck. I think.
Well, a taste, and
they had
yeah,
taste.
they knew what to play, you know, and of course Bill Monroe, they were in Bill Monroe's band.
Yeah.
So you got to give him some little credit there.
I mean, Del, were the solos, was there a lot of improvisation within it? Would they leave the head of the tune a lot, or was it pretty straight ahead?
It was good. I'll put it that way. It was good.
Well, okay, David.
Bill Monroe,
Yeah.
they owe a lot to Bill Monroe because they were young guys. And Bill Monroe was a little bit older, and he had a major record label, and he was on the Grand Ole Opry since 1939, so he had all the exposure these young guys needed. Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. So, there you go.
What was the closest bill that you played on with the Jazzer? Did you play with any Dixieland bands? I mean, David and I were talking off air about genres of music, being able to define a genre by the rhythm. But back when you were when you were cutting the grass, I mean, you would have the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, the Sons of Champlin, and whoever else. What was the closest kind of psychedelicized bill that you were on back then?
Well, back in those days, I never even heard jazz, or
Really?
or Dixieland, or anything like that. I got to do a record with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band, but that was much later.
He was hired by Bill Monroe in 1963.
So, up until then, that's all I had really listened to was bluegrass music, mainly Bill Monroe and Flatt Scruggs, and all of the guys that had been with him, like Jimmy Martin, lead singer, guitar player, and Osborne Brothers, and they were all over than me a little bit. And Mac Wiseman, who just recently passed away. But I was never around any music except bluegrass.
And to be honest with you, bluegrass is pretty psychedelic.
The best. The most.
It's all music ultimately, right?
Right.
It's all got the same elements, rhythm, harmony, and melody. I mean, how you mix that up and integrate it and orchestrate it in different styles. It's a style that came out of a lot of different roots, as do all styles. Everything's rooted in something earlier. And he's a little earlier than me.
Well, I mean, also,
But I saw
yeah.
the first gig he ever played with Bill Monroe.
Down in Maryland or where?
No, it was in NYU in 1963, February.
Yeah.
And I was 18, and Del was
23, I guess.
23.
Yeah.
And that's when we met.
Yeah.
And we've been friends ever. We played our first gig together, 2 gigs in 1966.
Yeah.
It was upstate New York you played at?
Yeah.
What was it? Was it Rensselaer or something?
Rensselaer and Troy, New York. And we also played at the second bluegrass festival ever in Fincastle, Virginia. It was called the Roanoke Bluegrass Festival.
Right. It was.
And I hired Del for that first gig. We're not sure which happened first. He hired me. Still owes me a little money from that, but
It was in the lean days. You know?
yeah. Yeah, we both were exactly available, but we could be at.
Del, can you? There was no, like in the '60s, there was no school for jazz. Now everything comes out of the academy. There was no school for bluegrass, so you had to learn by ear. Can you talk to cats, younger cats, who are saturated with information on YouTube? You have to seek in order to find quality material, okay? You learn by ear. Looking back on it, what were the advantages of learning by ear?
I don't think there was any.
But you got your own individual sound, man. You didn't. Can you riff on the homogenization of music, David, that we hear today? As opposed, everybody had their own sound.
Well, I think the influence of the music business on music has been steadily infiltrating the art part, and has.
Can you give an example?
Well, you can point to any period, and once recording started happening, really in the 20s, record companies, they started noticing who was selling thousands of records and who wasn't, and they would encourage artists to, we need more of this and less of that, so it just became an influence, and
it got diluted
until it's just, the music business, to grow at the rate that it felt necessary to grow, had to turn music into somewhat of a disposable commodity. And it's somewhat succeeded in doing that. But the truth is that great music, great art is timeless. And Duke Ellington should be, Bill Monroe, the Stanley Brothers, Mozart should be as relevant today as any time, and are actually much better than most of what you might hear if you turn on some TV show that has some kind of contemporary act on it, because basically they are...
Chances are it's not even human.
Yeah, they are the product more of the record business or the music business or the entertainment business than of aesthetic values. And back when Bill Monroe started the bluegrass boys with Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, they were interested in just making a certain kind of sound and doing this certain kind of harmonies, melodies, and the instruments had different roles, and they were perfectly. It was a perfect orchestration, and so perfect and so strong that it defined a style. But of course now, as in jazz,
It's so well put, yeah.
rhythm and blues, as in all kinds of styles, they're getting ground up and pulverized into some kind of, popular music.
Have either of you ever been approached to teach in music academia?
No, I've never had.
Bluegrass doesn't lend itself to that. It's a burning street scholar music.
Education takes place in many forms.
I agree.
And I did help organize and run a mandolin symposium for 12 years. It was an educational thing. And
What was the most gratifying thing that, looking back on it, that you took out of it?
well, just being able to have interested for a teacher, the most gratifying thing is having a great student. And I had that early on. I gave Andy Statman his first couple of mandolin lessons. And I always say if I'd never done anything but that, I would consider myself a success.
Exactly. That's right.
But I think,
I think
Hey.
the guys here.
Del,
for
play your
the-
play your butt off tonight, guys. It was such an honor to be with you.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Jake.
Love always,
We
guys.
appreciate it.
Jake.
We're burning tonight.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.